What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Narratives in Black, the podcast where we sit down with Black catalysts making waves in the Boston area. Storytellers, change makers, and cultural shifters who are shaping the present and reimagining the future. I'm your host, Amanda Shea, and today we have a guest whose pen is a force, whose words don't just tell stories but demand justice, celebrate joy, and amplify the voices that need to be heard. She's a culture columnist, a creator, a thought leader, and an unapologetic champion for Black lives. You've read her in the Boston Globe, where she covers identity, race, and social justice through the lens of culture and the arts. She's the mind behind A Beautiful Resistance, a multimedia series dedicated to honoring Black joy as an act of resistance. She's won awards, she's shaped narratives, and now she's leading the charge as the Globe's deputy managing editor of talent, culture, and development. She's also the 2023 chair of the Pulitzer Jury for Criticism, but above all, she's a truth teller who reminds us that Black stories are not just about struggle, but about love, excellence, and resistance. Here to talk about her journey, the power of storytelling, and what's next, please welcome my good sis, Jeneé Osterheldt. Hey, Jeneé.
What an intro.
Girl, because that's you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It means a lot to be here with you. I'm not often on this side of the interview.
We know that's right. And your story is so powerful. And that's why I'm so glad that you're here on season 2 with us. I really wanted you for season 1. I'm not going to hold you. But season 2 feels right. And you've been seasoned, sis. I've seen your journey from the beginning. But like, first, before we get into anything, like, how are you doing? You just celebrated a birthday.
I did. You know, August is not just because it's my birth, like everybody loves their birthday. Or, well, I don't want to say everybody, some people don't. But you know, for obvious reasons, birthdays are important because we get to be here another year. But I actually just actively love the month of August. It's just so sunny, and it also might be because I'm ruled by the sun that way. But I just feel very like alive and almost reborn in August. It's when I'm in the ocean the most. It's just, you know, love to Jeneé Osterheldt and God. Like, it just feels very cleansing to be awake and moving in August.
I love that. And I've also saw you are a water baby for sure. You be on the boats, you be at the beach. Like, Yamaya just be wrapping you in a hug, it looks like.
I need it. I am, I feel like my spirit is most at peace when I'm near the water, whether it's the ocean, whether it's the pool. You know, even on bad days when I can't get to either of those things, I will just do it. Sorry, climate warriors, but I will definitely be in my long shower just trying to like resurrect myself.
So I know you're not originally from Boston. I want to jump into like, what even brought you here? You grew up in Alexandria, Virginia, which, VA, I love the South, even though some of the Southerners don't really consider that the South, but that's a whole nother conversation.
It's East. It's like East Coast and the South at the same time. I just literally had this debate this morning because somebody from Atlanta was like, you are not from the South, you're from the East. I was like, it's both and.
It's both and. And VA is not that far from Atlanta at all, so excuse me.
It's both and. It is the East Coast, but it is also the South at the same time.
Especially with the culture, how did your upbringing shape your understanding of identity, culture, and storytelling for you?
So I grew up on both sides of Northern Virginia, of Virginia, period. Like, I was born and mostly raised in Northern Virginia, but then I also spent my teen and college years in the 757, hence the Clips t-shirt. I think growing up in the DMV area in the 757 is such a beautiful thing because it is both and. It is deeply Southern and also very much East Coast. You also have a heavy New York influence because so many people in New York come for the summer. Their families are there, their grannies are there. So you have this like beautiful like harmony of identities from everywhere sort of coming together. Plus you have the water. I love what Pharrell, you know, when he talks about Mermaid City and just like being near the ocean and the access to that, what it is to like grow up in the hood, but also be able to go to the beach. You know, I know a lot of people don't have that luxury. A lot of people live in concrete jungles, and it's like we got to have both and. It's like, yeah, we're in the hood, but also we get to go to the beach. It's right there. And I think it allows for like a different kind of dreaming and a different kind of like world building in your mind. And I feel also like because there's this very, you know, they say Virginia is for lovers, but there's also very much like this hustle mentality, this like, you're not gonna play on my face mentality. That is very real. We do have that. I think it gave me both the grit and the grace to tell our stories, to see where we were not and see where we were missing and be motivated and empowered and inspired to try to fill in some of those gaps. Not that I had all the answers right away because I'm still figuring that out all these years later, but I think it definitely instilled that like, what's missing, how can I add to it, how can I add value, what can I do to like be part of this picture, part of the wave.
I love that you said concrete jungle because it's so true. Like most Black young children do not have access to water. They don't know how to swim. They're not able to, you know, see that type of lifestyle. And I think that's really important, especially when you're from the hood, but you also have such beauty in Virginia. It's open land. You can be able to get farm to table if you really truly want to. Were there specific like books or films, you know, or personal experiences from your childhood that made you aware of the power of storytelling and speaking about the culture in Virginia?
So I was a latchkey kid, and I know a lot of people were latchkey kids, but I was a latchkey kid in kindergarten, like at age 5, which is a
Very
little
young.
different. It's very young. And so for me, coming home after school, you know, letting myself in, getting up on a little step stool, making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, it was like everything was books. Everything was books and everything was TV. So it was like music, art, and culture really, like when I say it raised me, it really, really raised me. And for books, it would absolutely be The Phantom Toll Booth. I read that book. It's kind of a thicker book, but I read that book, I think in first grade. I was pretty young when I first read about Milo. And the world building in that, also he was kind of like alone and like he wanted an adventure, he wanted all these things. I think the whimsy and world building of that absolutely was a portal to possibility for me that sort of inspired that type of like, ooh, what are the possibilities out there? And I had like a little record player. My dad was very into music. He's still very into music. So I'd play my little like, you know, Whitney Houston, Salt and Pepper, Michael Jackson records, whatever my dad let me have from his collection that he didn't care if I
Scratched,
or which I definitely did, But that and you know, Bill Cosby is a demon. He is a demon, and I have no problem saying he's a demon. But Bill Cosby is not Cliff Huxtable, and you know, we can't reverse impact, and I can't undo the fact that like The Cosby Show did raise me, and Different World did raise me.
Yes.
And those are shows that for me at age 5 and 6 sort of set a framework about what it is to be seen and how I could like add to that. And then when I think about go-go music and how, you know, in the DMV area, like that is a resistance in itself, the creation of that, the having our own sound, having our own seasonings like mumble salt, like just having your own flavor, so essential. Like I think about all the women I would see in my neighborhood with like their Coach bags and their bamboo earrings or their MCMs, and just like the confidence they had. And I just wanted that. I wanted to like, and I didn't have it, let me be clear. I was very much like not confident. But I think it set up frameworks for me to aspire to and like to want to be able to tell my story through how I move, to want to be able to tell my story and tell stories of them. You know, tell stories of Angel that lived across the street from me that was definitely moving weight but looked out for everybody in the neighborhood. To make sure that nuance is there. And you know, so it's like equal parts whimsy, whether we're talking about the Phantom Toll Booth, but then also like the women in the neighborhood, the beauty shop, the pink oil, the pink oil, and
Lusters.
the lusters, the blue magic that was way too heavy for our hair.
Come on, talk about it.
Way too heavy for our hair. The Palmer's cocoa butter everywhere. The first song I knew all the words to is Sardines and Pork and Beans, which is like a go-go song, basically like hood lullaby.
Girl, you're bringing me back to childhood.
But yeah, I mean, those are the things that I feel like really raised me. And, obviously I am not too much younger than hip hop. So it's like having that all around me, I feel like set up a multitude of portals. I learned how to swim before I was even in school.
Wow.
So I think, being able to swim and having that, swimming is so much more than like a life skill. It is a life skill, but it's also sort of this magical thing that allows you to remember how small you are and how big everything else is. And that if you just let go and learn how to navigate the current, you can survive.
Let's go, poet. That was so poetic. It's so true. And it's liberation, right? Because you do feel small in that big ocean of possibilities.
Yeah.
That's why I love water too. But it's interesting to hear you say, you struggled with confidence, because it sounds like from such a young age, you were very independent. Where was the struggle of the confidence, even just being a latchy kid and just having that sense of like awareness of self and self-sufficiency?
I mean, I think when you have to, you do. So it's like, there was like survive or don't. Like my mom was very much a sink or swim, no nonsense lady. So it was like, you're gonna figure this out. And my dad did not have those tools, but he definitely was like, if you don't learn how to lock this door and not open it, I'm gonna beat that ass.
Period.
And I definitely was tested. Like there were tests.
Can't even open the door for Jehovah's
No,
Witness.
nobody.
Stop.
So I think there's a difference between being able to take care of yourself and sustain versus having the confidence to like move in the world like with a level of love of self. I think I was adultified like so many of us are at a young age. So it's like I was very self-sufficient, yes. But I also, I think, struggle with like, do these people love me? Like, do they care if I'm okay? Like, and I think that gave me this other complex of like, deep insecurity and also a need to make sure other people feel loved, like, because I can recognize that in other people. So it's like, oh, how can I make sure that they don't feel how I felt? How can I make sure that they're not lost in a way, or if we are lost, we're not lashing out in the wrong ways? So I think it was more like that. But I definitely, I come from kind of like that era where it was like, we all know colorism is real. It is a very real thing, and we can never deny it. But I think there was a wave in the 80s and 90s where it was very much like, oh, you light skinned, you stuck up, you this, you that, you think you this, you think you that. And I know where that comes from, and there are valid reasons like that I will never deny, but I think it gave me a different issue, which was like trying to be small. Like, how can I be smaller so nobody thinks that I think that I'm better? How can I like hide underneath the baggiest clothes possible and just be like less, intimidating, or less like, oh, you think you just, so, which I never thought that that's really what I was doing, but because it was said and everyone around me looked different from me and my dad's family, that I was just like, okay, I gotta figure out how can I make everybody else feel as beautiful as I think they are without me somehow coming off a way that I don't know I'm coming off. And that led to a host of like insecurities, falsehoods, like, not being your whole, full, true self.
Yeah.
But the good part of that is I think it taught me empathy and like really trying to understand why are they coming at me this way? Like, why is this like this? Because when you're young, you don't have a language for that shit.
No.
So it's like trying to figure that out, which turned into, it's not like I figured it out fast. It took a long time for me to unpack that. But I do think it led to things that are good and bad that I had to work through.
It's funny that you're saying this because, not like poor, light skin me, but it is a thing. Like it is a complex for real. And when we grow up in that type of environment with our families and even just being teased about it, like it could be one small little, like you a red bone or yellow bone,
Yeah.
and that stuck up like ideology where you think you're better. No, it's like that's being projected onto me. And how do I change the narrative? And I think a lot of us, because I've experienced that too, from the South as well, we do shrink ourselves to be more malleable
Yeah.
and digestible so that people can relate to us. And that puts you like in a really vulnerable space of just always completely walking on eggshells, even around your own people.
No, I mean, my dad to this day calls me little yellow woman. And will literally be like, oh, there go Jeneé being all light skinned, stuck up and uppity. And what he's pointing to is not me actually being uppity. It's me being like, hey, I did some research on what's going on with your cancer.
The education.
And like me literally trying to help him navigate cancer in the medical system. But he's just like, oh, she just got to be a know-it-all. There's a light skin stuck up. And then on the other hand, my mom's no longer with us. But in my mom's household, I was the darkest person in the house. She's an olive-skinned white woman who is Jewish, German, and all the other things. And I'm just like, that's a different dynamic because she's saying all types of crazy stuff that she grew up hearing, like, oh, don't be coming at me with that black girl attitude. And that's some wild stuff for your mom to say. And it's like, I know my mom loved me. I'm not going to pretend like, oh, my mom didn't love me. But I'm just saying, like, she had her own things to unpack that were normalized for her to hear or that she thought was normal that she brought into the situation. So it's like I have two people coming at me from two different directions, both kind of vilifying my blackness or lack thereof in one way or the other. So yeah, absolutely took a while for me to kind of come into a space of like, I'm good with who I am, I'm good with how I present, and also I can love me and love you, and I can see your beauty and see mine in all of the multitudes of our blackness and how we show up.
First and foremost, I'm sorry for your loss. I remember the year that your mom left this plane or transitioned. And I watched you still persevere and move through that and still wrap your arms around community even when you wanted to be isolated and were very isolated. So I just want to say I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
But also I'm really I admire your strength because you still had to work and still had to show up. And I've never lost a parent as of yet, but I can only imagine what that feels like. And then also, I don't know if you've ever unpacked any of these things with your mom. Did you?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say we fully unpacked everything. I would say I wrote about it as writers do, and she was upset. And I'd be upset if I got called out publicly too. I maybe should have thought about that a little more, and I did not.
Still your truth, though.
Yeah, but so, we had the conversations. I wouldn't say we fully resolved the conversations, but, towards the end, she definitely acknowledged the ways that she had hurt both me and my sister different ways that she hurt us, but she acknowledged that, and I appreciate that. My dad is dying now, and I don't think we're going to have that come to Jesus moment.
I'm sorry.
But I love that man very much, but I think that, we all come into this. I think we forget our parents are people. We really do.
We never look at them as their own people.
We forget they're people. We forget that they got their own trauma, their own abuses. And when my dad was barely 18 when I was born and going through all types of stuff. So I try to keep it. I don't excuse him because he, wrong is wrong. But I also just try to keep in mind that you can't unpack a lot of things with someone who hasn't unpacked their own trauma. So I move at him with as much grace as I can, with boundaries intact to protect my own peace. Is how I look at that.
That was a quotable. I'm definitely taking that from you because that was a quotable. It's so true. And we also often forget that we're in different generations than what our parents grew up in. I don't know about you, but my mom was born in the 60s, and it was very, very very rough back then, and race wars, which, depending on who you speak into, still exists today, very much so. So that is really difficult. But at some point, they had to have collided at some point and saw some kind of common ground to even have you be in existence.
Yeah. So, that's that. I mean, they were the perfect storm, the perfect, messy, beautiful, awe-inspiring storm of things.
And teenage parents are really, really tough as well.
So they did the best they could. I think we really just got to remember that people are people. And I think that that's not just parents. That's like, teachers, that's politicians. It's all it's, I heard someone say that their job was out to get them the other day. And I'm not saying they weren't going through hardship, because they were. But what they were describing to me, especially now that I'm in management, was essentially like the company is losing money. So they're restructuring things. And I was like, yo, your boss is just a person who's having to make decisions based on resources, and they're doing the best they can to keep you employed. Because the person wasn't losing their job was changing. And I was just like, they're doing everything they can to keep you employed, and it's ugly and it doesn't feel good. I said, but at the end of the day, this is a person with a person over them, with a finance team over them. And when the finance team says this is the thing, then you got to make the math. And it sounded to me, upon listening to it, that the person was literally trying to maximize human possibility with minimal losses to everybody. And but because we get so in our own inner world and our inner wants and our inner needs when it comes to parents, any person that has power over us, we forget that they're people. And that's that they're people. They're people with their own messed up shit and their own complications and nuances. And it doesn't mean that they're allowed to just trample all over us. But I just think if we remember that we're people dealing with other people, it could at least lay some grace for us to unpack issues and build new ways and destroy old ways. But instead, it becomes us them or us it. And we just, once you start dehumanizing people, it's kind of hard to get any further than that.
I love that you're speaking about grace. You also are speaking about humility. I think a lot of people walk around with a sense of entitlement sometimes that it doesn't give them the perspective of what humility is like, and to be able to honor that grace. Because you were at such a young age where you were able to build empathy and apathy for folks outside of your own self and just be able to humanize people, we have a lot of grown people who have never had that opportunity to. And I'm assuming, your experience at an HBCU probably influenced a lot of that as well, not just as a writer, but also as a journalist. Talk about your time at Norfolk State University.
Norfolk. We don't drink, we don't smoke. Norfolk. That's how we teach people to say it.
Norfolk. It sounds like...
I know it sounds naughty.
It sounds naughty.
I know it sounds naughty, but it's Norfolk. I think the only people who say Norfolk is Sarah Jessica Parker on her terrible show.
Listen, not Carrie.
Listen, Carrie portrayed the 757 as if it was in the sticks, in the woods.
She really did,
I'm still upset about this episode. I know the show is over and it's done, and Just Like That is over. But in Just Like That, they got Virginia real wrong. They got me real fucked up. But anyway.
Get us right. Norfolk.
Thank you for giving love to the illustrious Norfolk State University. Behold the green and gold. A lot of people see Harvard on my resume and they disproportionately focus on that. And look, I love the Neiman program. It changed my life. I will never understate it. Shout out to Anne-Marie Lipinski forever. But I would not be who I am and move how I move and have the confidence to even almost withstand what we deal with in these systems if it had not been for the garden of Norfolk State University. When people ask me about confidence, honestly, I don't think I even almost had it until Norfolk State University. I think I was aspiring to it. I think I was mimicking it and trying to have it. But at Norfolk State, at any age, and I'm a little different on the HBCU spectrum because a lot of people think that in order to love your HBCU, it can only be your HBCU. I don't feel like that. Obviously, I love my HBCU, but I love all of the HBCUs. I love all Divine Nine. I believe that Howard can be the Mecca, and it doesn't take anything away from the rest of our schools. I believe Spell House can be elite without it hurting anyone else. So I love that we have all these nuances. But for me, Norfolk State University is so beautiful for me because it wasn't my first choice. It wasn't where I was even supposed to go. My mom crashed out. It's a long story short, I ended up halfway homeless my senior year of high school. I was unable to tour the colleges that I could have gotten into, the colleges that my grades afforded me. I was unable to respond to some recruitment letters and things that I would have wanted to do differently. And Norfolk State was available, accessible, and there was a scholarship that could sort of make things easy when I did not have a parent or adult to sort of shepherd the process. So I went into it kind of like, well, I'm going to college no matter what, so I'm going to go to this one because it's going to be easy for me while my life is hard. But honestly, it ended up, you know, that Zora Neale Hurston quote, like, I hope you, it's something like, I hope when you fall, you land somewhere soft or something like that. I don't know the exact quote, I'm messing it up, but.
No, you paraphrasing.
Yeah, paraphrase it, but Norfolk State was a soft space, a soft soil to fall into so that I can bloom into who I needed to be. And it was a soil that was rich with nuance and rich with Blackness. And because it is an accessible college, it's a college that whether you were someone like me who, you know, was highly academically motivated or you had a lower GPA but you wanted better for yourself, they took you. They don't make it hard for you to access college. And I think because of that, there is such a nuanced class body there. You have your Whitleys, but you also have like people who are making every ends meet. You have people who are like, 2 years ago they was a D-boy, and now they're like, I'm in school, I'm changing my life. And everyone has this sense of like, let's get it and let's get it together. And it's just a beautiful thing. I remember sophomore year, we had Czechoslovakians, like a group of them, maybe like 10, come into our HBCU on various sports scholarships. And yes, we were like, what's happening? And then we were like, yo, what's happening? Come on, do the fashion show, do this, do that. And it became very much like, let's get it together, because they were immigrants. They were trying to figure it out, and they came to our school to figure it out. So we were like, let's get it together. And I think that's the thing about being a Spartan. It's like this level of like warrior inside of you that exists really in the whole HBCU culture. And I think when you're able to be around different types of Black people from different types of socioeconomic statuses, different aspirations, dreams, the radicals, the creatives, the people who are working from the system within, it really, it gives you something you cannot get when you matriculate into the corporate America. And I think because I had that, because I was able to be surrounded by Blackness that was so rich and nuanced in who we are as people, that once I got out into white systems and power structures, that even if I had to look across a newsroom and only see 5 of us, I felt like together we could just move a mountain, because I knew how magical and not dehumanized, not like, oh, we're not real, but I just knew like the bigness, the muchness of us in all the best ways. And that if we got together and believed in each other, like steel sharp and steel, let's get it, let's fly, then we're gonna soar in this baby wherever we are. I don't know that I would have had that if I went to Harvard first, or if I went to Georgetown first, or one of these UVA. Like, and I'm not saying other people can't have it. Like, I have a very close friend who went to PWI, but her childhood was different from mine. So she already had that bolster of like confidence and richness and nuance within her home and without it. So she's doing it different. She's doing it like me right now, haven't gone to a PWI, but I feel like she was already given the tools before. And I feel like if I had not had my HBCU experience, maybe I would have floundered, I think, possibly out in this world trying to survive.